So we've just seen London Rampage, and I'm here with Greg. I think in conversation, we both had a discussion about previously about, like you understand where there's flaws, etc. But what I've got to say to you is this is the spirit of independent film. What you've done there is you've made something that's quite unique. You've made something on a ridiculously low budget. It's got style, it's got so much orchestration, the colour, the lack of colour, and just all that stuff that you've put together for someone who has or claims to have as little experience. You've made, you've done something really, really good. Do you want to tell everybody your story that led up to the creation of that film?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. I mean, it really does mean a lot to me. If you want to talk about the story, what led to that being made, it pretty much we can start here at this cinema, because this is the very cinema where I first come to watch movies. Just to pay 35p to get on a bus from Cranham to Romford, come to the cinema, watch Range World 2, Jurassic Park. This is my cinema. So this place helped inspire me to become, to work in the movie industry, I guess, because I've always loved movies. I've basically always wanted to be in the entertainment industry, but I just didn't know what area of entertainment, because I started off as a professional wrestler. I've been a professional wrestler for almost 20 years now. I run one of the best wrestling school in Europe, the London School of Lucha Libre, which has all of my students in that movie. And I got from wrestling, I was very fortunate to get involved in TV work and extra work, and it was the time of the recession, so there was a lot of jobs open for me because they didn't want to pay stuntmen, to be honest. They couldn't afford stuntmen. That's how bad things were around 2007, which was great for me because I got so many jobs, and I learned loads about stunt work and acting from being on jobs. I never went to acting school. I wasn't lucky enough to go to acting school. I wasn't lucky enough to go to film school. I didn't even know what film school was. I'm just a normal kid from Cranham. Cranham's about 15 minutes away from here on the 248. It's not 35p though, it's about £1.80 now if you want to go there. So yeah, I learned about the business by doing and learning on the job, and I was very lucky to then get involved in projects like Harry Potter, doing stunt work on that and low budget films, and that's where I met a really good friend of mine now, Ross Boyask. You may know him. He gave me my first big break in 10 Dead Men, and that's when I really got the bug for movie making and learning about independent movie making. Because when you're on Harry Potter, we were sitting there in a tent eating, I don't want to say lobster, but it was really good food. And we're not doing anything. We're just sitting there doing nothing. And we said to them, what are you doing? He said, we're rewriting a part of the script. So you can afford to keep us here in this massive tent, 400 people, while they rewrite it. And funnily enough, one of the other guys, because we were stunt Death Eaters, is Stephen Patton, who was the main villain in that movie with the white shirt on at the end where I broke his neck. I met him on Harry Potter. So I was very, very fortunate to do these little jobs, and Ross Boyaski really influenced me a lot, and I learned a lot about independent film, and I met a lot of contacts, and from being on doing all these movies, these bigger budget movies, I always said, well, I can't, very ignorant, very, 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 very ignorantly, I said to myself, well, I can't see where the money goes, because I can only see what happens in front of the camera. That's all it needs. I don't need catering, I don't need this, that, makeup, sound, I don't need that. I just need whatever's in front of the camera is what is where the money goes. I learned along the way that's not the case, But so I thought, well, I wanted to try and make my mark in the movie industry, and I don't know how to move up, so I guess, I got this unique way of doing stuff, which is pro wrestling, and pro wrestling is a very underestimated skill, and if I had my way, you'd have to learn pro wrestling to get on the stunt register. was it teaches you so much about acting, teaches you so much about meeting your camera marks, doing things in one take, selling. It does a lot. It covers a lot of areas. So I thought I wanted to showcase what I can do, because I'm not a taekwondo man. I don't do kicks. I don't do high flying action. And I always wanted to work with people like Scott Atkins and Tony Jaa, all these guys in my heroes, Bruce Lee. So I thought, well, I'll go in the same kind of flow as someone like Bruce Lee and do my own style of fighting with my own style of movie making. So I thought, well, you know, I'll make my own movie. And everyone said, you're not going to make your own movie. And I said, watch me, I'm going to make my own movie with £1,000. And it took me forever to save up £1,000. I was working as a doorman, you know, £50 here and there. It took me so long to save up that £1,000. And that £1,000 went on a £400 Canon 550D camera from PC World, which was on sale. And it went on a Panasonic handheld camera, like a handheld. You can buy it in like Argos for like, I don't know, £400. It's not even semi-pro standard. And that was interlaced, and the other one was P, so 1080i, 1080p. And I took the two cameras and I made London Rampage with two cameras and a £400 laptop from PC World as well, with a copy of Adobe Premiere. I didn't know anything about editing. I taught myself how to edit. I taught myself how to do sound design. I taught myself absolutely everything, not because I wanted to do it all myself, literally because I had no other option. I had no money, I didn't want to ask people to come and take time out of their schedules, and I just thought it'd be good for me to learn anyway. So I wanted to learn the process of movie making, and I'm so glad I did, because that was my film school. Doing and acting and sound design and editing, and what I found out, that was just half of the industry. The other half I found out later once I got that movie distributed, which was a whole other beast. But anyway, I got the movie. I got all my friends together from the wrestling school, and I remember talking to I'm trying to think of his name. He made a low-budget British movie called Sucker Punch, Malcolm Martin made. And he said, well, basically, you write a script with what you have available to you. And I said, well, that's interesting. So at the time, I run the London School of Lucha Libre with Gary Vanderholm in Bethnal Green. And we have an arch. And I thought, well, I have an arch. I can make the most of this. I have basically a stunt team. Let's write a script based around this arch and the surrounding areas, i.e. the estate across the road, which a lot of that is filmed in. My sister's flat in Collier Row, down the road, that was filmed in. My mum's old house in Hornchurch, down the road. And all the fight scenes with the Union Jack flag carpet on the floor, that was my old house in Tottenham. I used to live in a warehouse. And I pretty much moved into the warehouse because I could film all the fights in there. So yeah, it's filmed in Havering and East London and Tottenham. And I just wrote the script around what I had available to me, my friends, and that's the end result, London Rampage. That's the original cut as well. That's as you can see, I'm a bad guy at the end of the movie. I got the movie distributed, I'll tell you later, but they said to recut it. So that's the original version, which will be going out through Evolutionary Films on Amazon Prime. Yeah.
When you were shooting outside, doing some of those fight sequences, did you get any sort of disturbance, as in did people think there was an actual fight, or did anyone call the police? Or?
Do you know what? Luckily I didn't, but ironically, super ironically, the estate across the road, there's never anyone there, ever. Ever since I've been there 10 years, there's never anyone there. Police, nothing. Day one with the cameras, 4 police cars turned up, literally, as I walked out. And I went, and they said, what are you doing? I went, I'm filming. And they went, okay, well, you're probably going to need permission to do that, yeah? And I went, okay then. And then I got scared. And they gave it half an hour and we carried on. But I looked up the laws. Apparently, if you don't put the camera on a tripod on the floor, it's legal. So I hope. So, I don't know.
Find out soon
We'll
enough.
find out.
The one of the things that I learned as well is if you want to shoot on a London street, you knock on someone's door and say, "Can I film on your property?" and then have the actor on the street while you hold the camera on their doorstep or in their front garden, and you can get away with it without the permission. So I did that a lot myself. But I just you know, because I mean there's a lot of work that goes into the choreography. I mean, you know, like a fight sequence is a fight sequence, but when you're trying to film the fight sequence and get all the stuff in that you're trying to get in and get all those moves in and get the angles and all that stuff, how hard did you find it? How long were some of those, just towards the end when you had the fight that ended with the skateboard situation? I mean, like, how long did that take to put together? And
do you know what, it's funny because that's the first time I've seen that movie in 3 years. I've not seen that movie in 3 years. I really enjoyed watching it. And there's some bits where I was like, but there's some bits I thought, okay, it's cool. But I was thinking about the fights, and like every single fight, apart from the end one with me and Will, we didn't choreograph until the day. And I think this is my belief. Wrestlers make the best stunt people because we're trained to literally turn up to a building and they say you've got 20 minutes before you go out and wrestle. And what we do is we plan that match in 20 minutes and we go out and do it. And people say, well, do you pre-plan it weeks ahead? No, literally, sometimes we only have 20 minutes. Sometimes you've got 5 minutes and we go out and we do it. And not only do we go and do it, we make full contact. And we know where to hit people and make it hurt less. And it does still hurt. It's not real, obviously, but it does still hurt. And the good thing about using wrestlers, it was like, okay, let's do this, do that. And let's just go out and do it and see what happens. And we can make full contact and we don't have to change the camera, cheat this. And because we're doing it in guerrilla, we're doing handheld, it doesn't take long to set up. That end fight, I think we did that in about 4 hours, I think, that fight, maybe 3. But everything is in my head. And what I did, I basically wrote out the rough idea on my iPad, and I went, okay, and then I went out and I said, I want this, and we just went out and did it. So I guess I did pre-plan roughly, but in terms of execution, there wasn't any rehearsals, there wasn't anything, we just went out and did it.
Where did the idea of the black and white and the colour come from?
Okay.
And as someone that pretty much put this together on their own, how difficult was that for you to deliver what you were intending?
I would love to say that it was for artistic purposes, but it really wasn't. It's the fact. Listen, I didn't know. I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't have a clue. Yeah. I just bought 2 cameras and a laptop. Didn't know what I was doing. This is how ignorant I was. I didn't know how to match the colours on the cameras. So I thought, I don't want it to be on one camera this colour, and on that one is another colour. It's going to look weird. So I thought, I was doing it in black and white. And I'll pull the colour and make it look like Sin City. So it was a total like schoolboy error to do that. But I'm glad I did. I like it. I think it looks pretty cool like that. And I learned how to do that effect on Final Cut. Sorry, Adobe Premiere. But what I found out later on, when I did get that movie distributed, the biggest problem why that movie isn't everywhere now is because it was in black and white. And the sheer ignorance of distribution companies, they go, what movie have you got? And they go, action. And they go, cool, we've got this. Oh, it's in black and white, we don't want to see it. Are you sure? No, we don't touch black and white. And that's literally what happened. So many companies turned it down just because it's in black and white. They didn't even watch it. They don't pick up black and white movies. So, I learnt from that mistake. But it was just because I didn't know what I was doing.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's like, some will view this as, oh, no one's going to watch it. Others are going to view this as art.
Yeah.
And as I said, the fact that, it looks like this is Greg's unique style.
Yeah. And
this is the, how like, I don't, honestly, did anyone out there think that was just to cover up? You know what I mean? Got to take my hat off.
I'm glad I kept it like that. I'm very glad. I don't think it would have been as powerful if not. And I was very into. Well, I still am very into my street art. So I love the fact that we could pull out the colour on some scenes, and sometimes it would affect. I like the way that if we could affect someone's mood just by pulling out a colour on one of the background scenes. I like that kind of effect we could get by doing that. I don't think it would have had the same appeal if we did that in colour. My company, my distribution company, I sold it to in America. Well, they own acquired the rights to it. They said later on, could I do another colour version? And again, I don't know what I'm doing. If you was to go back on the edit on that movie, I'm like, here, take it all. I don't know what the fuck's going on with the edit. It's all over the place, and there's bits, it starts, it's like a really botched job, really. So to do a colour version of that, it would literally take years, I think. You just have to start again and just do it all from scratch, I think.
So you said earlier on there's bits of it that you think,
yeah.
Well, go on, I'm going to put you on the spot now. What is the bit in that film that makes you cringe the most?
Some bits of the acting, yeah, definitely the acting. Just so you know, my sister and that is my real sister, and my brother is my real brother. They're not actors. I wrote them in. I forced them. I pulled the Big Brother card and I forced them into it. They didn't want to do it. I forced them in. And Adam was also cameraman. I forced him into it. Didn't know what he was doing. He still did it for me because he's my brother. I love him. So yeah, there's bits there where I think, okay, we could have took more time to maybe rehearse the acting. Definitely rehearse the acting more. That's another thing I've learned from doing movies is make sure the acting is on point. Some of the lines, that movie was made in 2012. I don't think you could get away with some of them lines today. And at some points I was watching it and going, this was like an EDL promotion video. Some of the lines, but you can't it's kind of awkward at some points. But I think mostly was, just some of the acting. I think my fight I had with Tiny's a very good friend of mine, the big guy, ironically called Tiny. The ending could have been a little bit better, looking back. But I was happy with some of the bits. Some of the bits were better than I remembered. The fight with me and Will. Actually, it's weird. I didn't get emotional, but I watched it. It's good watching it on a big screen, and I'm very surprised how well those two cameras actually looked on a big screen. Because that's the first time I've really seen it on a big screen. Really surprised how well them cameras were. I would change, definitely, I would upgrade the cameras, I think, if I was to do it again. And some of the sound as well, I had a lot of problem with sound. There's a lot of indie filmmakers will tell you, and guerrilla filmmakers will tell you that sound is a big problem. I had a lot of problem in the edit, trying to cover things up, and voiceovers and ADR. So bits here and there, I think.
It still looks quite rough.
Okay, I'll tell you where the only place where someone got hurt. You wouldn't even realise it. They're all pro wrestlers. They're used to it, and we're not really punching each other hard. We're punching people in the right place, so it doesn't hurt as much. The most dangerous thing that happened on that whole fight was on the montage when I'm fighting Jimmy Havoc in the warehouse, in the junkyard part. And Jimmy Havoc is the guy that that I powerbombed through the car roof, that part. I said to Jimmy's a good friend of mine, he's now earning big money in America. I said, let's just go out there and have a fight. And let's film the whole thing in one take. And the whole fight was 15 minutes. And originally I wanted to do a 15-minute fight and leave it in the movie, but obviously it's way too long to keep 15 minutes worth of one take fight in a movie. So I cut it up in that montage. And there's a moment in it where I pick up a big, like a barrel cut in half, like one of those barbecue barrel things. And I go to throw it on Jimmy, but Jimmy super kicks it. And the super kick is where you basically do a side kick, and you kick the barrel whilst I'm holding it by my head. And obviously, he's kicked it with some force, and the barrel is rusty as fuck as well. He's coming in, and it's got a nice sharp edge because it's been cut in half, and it went right to my eye there. and at the last second I went, and it cut my cheek open. It's here, go like that, and I went, fuck! I nearly lost an eyeball. Then that was close. And there's a scene where I'm talking to, I call him Stephen, the guy in the shirt, and I shook his hand. You see, at the moment I shook his hand, I was saying, leave my brother out of the game. You see a nice big nick on my cheek where the day before was where I nearly lost my eyeball, and that was about the only major accident we had the whole time. It says chicken, dim sum and noodles. It says is it knowledge is power. I hope it says knowledge is power. So yeah, but I've had a lot more tattoos since then. So yeah.
What are you up to next?
Well, I've just done. Well, like I said, I made that movie because I wanted to work with my heroes. One of my heroes was Scott Adkins. So my aim was make movies, get your stuff out there, show people what you can do, and then learn as well. And I was very fortunate this year to actually work with Scott Adkins because I made London Rampage. So I'm very fortunate to have done that. And the movie's coming out next week. It's called Avengement, and it stars Scott Adkins, Craig Fairbrass, and a couple other main players in the game. And my man at the back there, yeah, I punched him in the face, broke his nose. Yeah. I've just done a movie called Vengeance 2 with Vinnie Jones and Wade Barrett from the WWE, another good friend of mine. That's coming out this year. Off the strength of making that movie, I also networked a lot with other people, and it opened doors up for India. And they liked what I did, and if you've ever seen an Indian movie, it's very over-the-top action. It's great, I love it. But they wanted to make a movie that was very simplistic in its action and realistic, so they liked what I did. So I got cast in an Indian movie called Ideal Vidalam Solam Katai with Abhay Deol. And weirdly, Abhay Deol is a big Indian name, and I met him through the strength of making that movie because the producers of this the Indian movie introduced me to another director, and then I met Abhay Deol because they wanted me to train to do some stunt fighting. So many doors were open just because I went, I'm going to make a movie. And if I'd have listened to one person tell me you're not going to make a movie, none of that would have happened. But you know, I've done so much of the strength because I just said, fuck it, let's just make a movie, let's just do it, see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? And I really do believe you really have to follow your dreams, and you've got to stay dedicated, and you've got to want it. Because there's so many people that think they want it and they don't, and there's so many people that are too scared to even try and they never do, and there's so many people that just give up. And I don't want to be one of those people on my deathbed that sits there and goes, I should have done that. Because you're dead. That's it. You had your chance. You're going to die now. I'd rather have sat there on my deathbed and go, do you know what? I've done everything I've ever wanted to do in my life, and I'm happy, and I can die now in peace with no money. I don't care if I'm rich, poor, whatever. And I that's the mentality I carry with me in everything I do. And I think it's good if people did the same, because life really is too short, you know. So just go out and do it.
I just want to say, because we need to wrap this up for our next film, I think I might be wrong, there might be people out there that disagree, but I truly believe, accident, otherwise, the way you put that together, you truly understand the art of film. Yeah. You know, it's not just the story of the story. Yeah. All the things like the establishing shots that lots of people miss out on, you got it all. You got the colour, you got the angles, everything just looked really, really good. And on that basis alone, you need to make sure you step behind the camera again and don't wait too long.
It is happening. I'm doing another movie this year. Actually, I've got two movies. I took that movie to America. I basically walked into the AFM. I walked in, bowled into some guy's office, and he went, "You're awesome, who are you?" And I went, "I'm Greg Burridge, I've got London Rampage." And basically off the back of that, he's done one of my best friends. He said, "Come to my office." I went to Paramount Studios, where his office was, and then they took London Rampage, and he's given me money this year to make another one, another feature. It was going to be London Rampage 2, but that's the original cut. That's why I had to change the cut, so I'm a good guy at the end, but that's changed now. But that's being made. But I'm also off the strength of doing guerrilla filmmaking, because I love doing it, I love learning, and now I feel I know what I'm doing. I feel I know what I'm doing better. I'm going to start making another guerrilla action, just like London Rampage, but with a lot more knowledge, and it won't be in black and white. With more action, bigger stunts, bigger fight team, bigger everything. Because I mean, a lot of I've always, like I said, I always loved film. I learned a lot from film by watching and doing, but I think one of the main things that helped with my filmmaking is the fact that I understand pro wrestling, and pro wrestling can teach you quite a lot about storytelling. It teaches you. There's so many connections with the movie industry. I think maybe that might have helped me understand a little bit more about editing and emotion, and just making a good movie that I hope everybody enjoyed as well. And thank you for coming.
Can I have a little round of applause for Greg, because he definitely deserves it. And thanks ever so much for bringing it to us.
Nice one.
And we wish you the best.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Cool.